Anybody ever heard of the hidden tax? It's called inflation. Welcome to High Impact Flicks. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflicks.com, and my backup channels, Here's the Deal and Grease Monkey videos. Hey guys, study after study shows that if you want strong bones and muscles, healthy hair, skin, teeth, and nails, you need the 5 types of collagen in your diet. I get mine from BioTrust. I've got a link in the description with a massive discount, and it'll tell you all about it.
This is closely related to what we just saw with the urea and the AdBlue. But listen to what these people say. Look at the lower chyron. Key U.S. inflation measure hits 39-year highs last month. But when they figure the inflation, guess what they exclude? What are the 2 things that really cost you in your life other than your home, other than a place to live? What are the 2 big expenditures for any household? Food and fuel. This inflation measurement does not consider the inflation on the food and fuel side. This is so freaking dishonest. Check this out. Watch how they talk about this. And the elephant in the living room that they won't talk about in terms of viewing them as the bad guy they really are is the World Bank, the IMF, and the Federal Reserve.
So when it comes to higher prices, I mean, look, we can all attest to that. We've seen it in different areas. What does this report tell us?
I mean, these are the numbers that really quantify the gut punch for American consumers, right? That gut punch that feels like it really peaked there in November. 6.8% is a big number. I mean, you're going all the way back to the 80s when, you know, Stevie Wonder and Ebony and Ivory was atop of the charts, right? We were wearing clogs and satin jackets. I mean, this is something we have not seen in modern times like this. And you look at
inflation index is the highest since June of 1982. 6.8%. That's just astonishing. That is mind-blowing. And then you have Jim Cramer saying this right here. Listen to what Jim Cramer says in the midst of a staggering, mind-blowing inflation index.
But what do I see for 2022? What's my outlook? All right, first of all, to me, we have the strongest economy perhaps I have ever seen. See that number this morning, the unemployment number? It's the best in years. It's not best in 69.
Those unemployment numbers are completely fictitious, made up. We've proven that in video after video in the past. And he's going to go, well, if we could just put a word picture to how strong the economy is, it's a frickin' freight train on steroids, according to Jim Cramer from Fast Money.
We have all spotted the endless help wanted signs, the housing and apartment shortages, the tremendous demand for goods and services, a marvel to behold. That's not to say there won't be other dips as long as there are Greek letters.
Best economy? What world is this guy living in? This is not the best economy. Lumber prices are through the roof. Housing supplies are through the roof. Food is through the roof. Just to live, the cost of living has gone through the roof. People are truly struggling. There are millions of people that are about to be put out on their ear because they can't afford next month's rent. People are paycheck to paycheck. It makes me wonder what's going on in the macro scale. How are people able to buy this many goods and services after we just got economically demolished under the Convids 1984 by George Orwell thing? Because that's all this Convids 1984, Con Job 1984 by George Orwell is. It's a big power and wealth transfer, and it only benefited the people in the club. It's a huge club, and we ain't in it.
There will be variants to be COVID, and we must be thrilled that a 3-shot regimen.
Did you hear what he just said? So now he's going to act as a public relations officer for the big farm guy.
Letters, there will be variants to be COVID. And we must be thrilled that a 3-shot regimen cuts the chance of death by 90%. Learned that last night from New England.
That's not mind control. We must be thrilled. We must be thrilled that we have a 3-shot regimen. We must. Are you thrilled? You must be thrilled.
Journal of Medicine. But we must also recognize that we have not tamed this beast. It will be with us, and we must learn the concept of what I call acceptable risk. That's what we have. If we are thrice vaccinated, we've got acceptable risk. But each time there's a new variant, we must expect a multi-day downdrift. Can't by day one. Can't be sanguine about a pandemic. But I trust in science, the science of our great pharma companies, and you know, they haven't let us down at all.
I
trust. What do I see for 2022?
I trust in science. I trust in science. Nothing says trust the science like you can't hold us responsible if something goes wrong. Nothing says trust the science like we're not going to release the data for another 55 years until 2077. That's the science that they want you to trust. I think most people who have a sane, rational, logic thinking mind know that those who warned us about rising sea levels are buying beachfront properties. Those who warned us about the seriousness of con job 1984, face diaper wearing and social distancing were the very ones throwing the parties. Those who tell you you need to give up your guns to make everybody safe are the ones who are surrounded by 24-hour days, 7-day-a-week armed security details. And those who try to use this climate change scare to scare the rest of us out of giving more money to our politicians are the ones that are jet setting all across the country. They have multiple properties with multiple mansions, and they got carbon footprints that exceed even your own hometown. How can you not know what's going on? The very people who are telling you you have to do this are writing a different script for themselves. It's amazing to me when you see these climate accords and then you look at the airport parking lot and all these huge jets these people flew in on and all the wasteful expenditures, and they're going to tell us that we need to do something. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. Get the frick out of here with that nonsense. Let's get back to this inflation thing. The inflation brought to you by the Federal Reserve.
A line chart of inflation, and you can see this is the worst in years, and certainly the most meaningful price inflation we've seen in our recent memory.
Look at that spike up. That corresponds with the M2 money supply. I think they stopped doing the M2 money supply chart, but this updraft right here corresponds perfectly with the M2 money supply chart that we took a look at 4 or 5 months ago.
You strip out food and energy, and this growth rate is 4.9% year over year, and 0.5%.
That means it's way, way worse than this 4.9%. Less food and energy. Core November 2020 to November 2021, plus 4.9% inflation, less food and energy. And they even admit on here, food and energy has risen 30 to 50% in some cases. We got a serious problem. Have you noticed how few groceries you get for the expenditure at the supermarket lately? It is obscene. You're looking around going, how can all the people around me afford the food that they're getting? And then they buy bad food. It's like it's filled with Cokes and chips and bonbons and TV dinners. It's like not only are they paying exorbitant amounts for their junk food, they're doing their best to slit their throat and put themselves in the hospital.
Percentage point, 0.5%, just for the month from October to November. And it has been energy driving much of this. You've seen that. We've talked about gas prices, and those prices have been moderating in the past few weeks, which is why some economists are saying they think this might be the worst. You can see that you had some really sharp core rates earlier in the year, and that appears like it might be moderating a little bit here. We also know that the shortages, because of supply concerns, we're hearing from CEOs, and we're hearing from the White House, and we're hearing from supply chain managers that they're starting to see how those are going to work themselves out. But demand is strong. I mean, this is a sign of a really strong economy, guys. People are rushing out all at the same time to buy the stuff they want.
Mainstream media, this is CNN. Jim Cramer is on CNBC. Fox News has even said it. Well, actually, I think Fox News criticized people going, it's a real strong economy. But that's what you hear on fake stream leftist media is, we have a strong economy. The demand is incredible. It's off the charts. Look at all the people. Look at the demand for goods and services. It's incredible. It's really heating up.
After we've been in a huge pandemic.
Well, what portion of this, Christine, are energy prices? Gas, home heating oil, natural gas for home heating? Because
well, no portion of that 4.8 or 4.9%. It says less food and fuel, less food and energy. Was this guy not listening? If you want to add, if you're going to add food and fuel, you have to add to that 4.9 and 6.5% increase.
We know that is trending downward, at least based on where the markets stand today.
Yeah, and that's rear view mirror. I think it's a really good point that you're making there, Jim, because we know that you had 30, 40, 50% increases in your energy costs year over year the last few months, and we know that that is now moderating. So hopefully that energy part of inflation, consumer inflation, is not going to be as big of a deal heading
Listen to what she says about the Federal Reserve.
into the end of the year. Look, and the Fed is in inflation fighting mode right now. They've dropped that word transitory or temporary.
Yeah.
The Fed is in inflation fighting mode. It's like you get this picture of the Federal Reserve, a knight in shining armor with his shield and his sword and his horse all armored up going after inflation, when it's the exact opposite. He's the grumpy old man in the back room just churning out the money, just printing the bills, just fabricating stuff out of thin air. Inflation fighting mode and Federal Reserve is a frickin' oxymoron. Give me a break. Inflation is the Federal Reserve's best friend. It's how they can wring the value of every dollar so that everybody who spends at the top, all the big boys in the big club, which we ain't in, they get to extract all that value, which means they get to extract the time and laboring energies of you and me, the tax cattle, so that when it gets to the end user, which is you and me, it's spent all its energy on the guys with the big yachts and the big mansions and flying around to the G20 summit. And that's why it costs us more dollars to chase fewer goods.
They are preparing. The Fed is the inflation fighter. It's not the White House. It's not business. It's the Fed. And the Fed is in inflation fighting mode. Will be ending early, probably a lot of its stimulus, and eventually will start raising interest rates because it's a strong economy. They're going to have to tap on the brakes.
Strong economy. Federal Reserve, inflation fighting mode. Inflation fight. I've never heard anything so hilarious in my life.
While we have time and it still retains some of its perceived value, maybe it'd be a good idea to convert your worthless fiat into valuable, storable food. Don't be the one who waits till the food riots start happening. You don't want to be fighting panicking people in the store over that last jar of peanut butter. At Prepare with High Impact Flicks, you can get up to 3 air and watertight gasket-sealed ammo cans, each filled with a 4-week emergency supply. 7 food varieties, 2,000 calories a day, 284 servings, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and each meal comes in a resealable, heavy-duty 4-layered pouch. And it's got a 25-year shelf life. Every order of a 4-week supply gets you $100 off plus free shipping. Here's how simple it is to make. I'm going to cook up some Granny's home-style potato soup. People are going to think I'm a culinary hero. You open the pouch, boil 4.5 cups of water, stir the contents, simmer on low heat for 15 to 20 minutes, take it off the heat, then let it set for 2 to 3 minutes before you serve it up.
Man, this stuff's so good. People are going to think Granny stopped by and filled your kitchen with a whole bunch of love.
Well, if Granny does stop by, she's going to fill your behind with a whole bunch of buckshot if you keep talking with your mouth full. Wipe your dang beard off. It's embarrassing. So maybe convert some of your worthless fiat into valuable food while you still can. Order now and get $100 off of up to 3 4-week emergency food supplies at preparewithhighimpactflix.com. The link is in the description.